More questions are being raised over the information that was discussed in a group chat among President Trump's national security team. A reporter revealed he was added to the group chat that discussed planned airstrikes in Yemen. The Department of Defense says the information in that chat was not classified. Okay, let's dig into this a little bit. Joining us live now is William Wohlforth, the Daniel Webster Professor of Government at Dartmouth College. Professor, thank you for being here with us. There's been a lot of discussion, of course, about whether this chat between national security officials involved classified information or was this just sensitive information. So the question here, how does information get that certain classification?
The President of the United States and his designated authorities, in particular heads of executive departments like the Department of Defense, have the right to classify any material that they deem necessary.
So on that note, Professor, today the White House press secretary says that the Secretary of Defense here was ultimately the one responsible for deciding what in that conversation should or should not have been classified. So what about the review process that involves? Or can the Secretary just decide what to release while in the process of releasing it?
I think the question at issue is whether this is material that he should have classified or would have classified if he had been under different circumstances and not talking on a commercial messaging app. If this conversation had taken place in the White House, I have absolutely no doubt that it would have been classified. I have done a lot of research in U.S. documents. I know the kinds of materials that the United States government usually chooses to classify, and there's absolutely no doubt that the material discussed in this chat would have been classified under normal circumstances.
So whether or not it was classified here, sensitive or neither perhaps, we're in 2025 right now, and everybody has a device at their fingertips. And here, in this instance, the reporter was looped into the group chat. So as we are very much functioning in every level of society, straight up to the White House and government, it is a very modern tech world right now. So should there be new guardrails considered for these high-level security discussions?
Yeah, I think the United States government does have to think long and hard about how it's going to manage these kinds of communications in the current world. You're absolutely right. But as of now, it has rules, and those rules entail that conversations of this nature should not occur on publicly available messaging apps. They should occur in secure environments. These procedures were not followed in this case. If this had been done by anyone lower on the food chain than these top leaders like Secretary of Defense Hegseth, believe me, their heads would be on the chopping block.
And Professor, before I let you run here, do we mark a time here that this is the moment that communication like this changed?
I bet historians will look back and say this might have jarred the United States government into modernizing its mode of communication. No doubt about it. It's proving very, very hard for people to stick to the old and tried and true secure procedures that have been used henceforth.
Okay, we appreciate your time. Professor William Wohlforth, thank you so much for your insight.
You're most welcome.